This is my affidavit of fact. In 2019, I became an activist when the two youngest of my four kids were kicked out of school due to New York's forced shot law. When I found out that kids were getting deadly shots at school without parental knowledge or consent, I challenged the sponsor of the forced shot law and I scored 34% of the in-person vote in the primary, which effectively highlighted cracks in the globalists' armor. In 1987, when I was a teenager, I was walking on the sidewalk in New York City with five friends. When I heard a very loud noise, I turned and looked over my shoulder, and a car was barreling towards me like a bullet shot from a gun. The car was a New York City taxi. It pinned me to a building and burst into flames. And I remember dying in the crash. Miraculously, I survived, but had two compound femur fractures, nearly lost my left leg, and endured some bad jokes from friends, including Liz, there are easier ways of catching a cab. All joking aside, was this near-death experience simply a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, or something else entirely? This article is my search for the truth for myself, my family, and friends, and to potentially help others find the truth, often revealing itself in plain sight. For decades, I never questioned anything pertaining to the crash. I just assumed getting hit by a car was one of those random New York City things that just happen. The person who was allegedly responsible was stealing a van and was being chased by police. The stolen van hit the taxi, which jumped the curb and hit me and my friends on the sidewalk. The alleged driver of the stolen van allegedly served a short prison sentence. I was 18 years old, received no compensation. My family was unable to pursue any kind of legal remedies. And so I was fueled by rage. I relearned how to walk, and I moved on with my life. I finished college, traveled, worked, got married, kids. And while it was not an enviable life experience, I learned patience and a deep respect for the sanctity of human life and the power of our minds. Fast forward to 2019, 2020, and the world celebrated the release of a deadly bioweapon. And I had some questions, like what the hell is going on and who is behind this? Uncovering aggregate political truths also inspired questions particular to my own family, my relatives' work as a defense contractor and as Zionists, the violent murder of a close relative in 2008, my background as a Reformed Jew, Reformed is not so religious, more secular, and about what really happened the night that I was hit by the car on November 26, 1987. I'm going to try to summarize here. I was with five friends when the car hit us. I was the most seriously injured. One of the friends was my ex-boyfriend, RK, who was like the Julie McCoy cruise director of that night, directing where we were going and what we were doing that evening, and we were having a lot of fun. After the crash, RK and I stayed on friendly terms for over 30 years, but our lives were busy and we rarely spoke. We just went on with our lives. The friend who told me about the Matrix and who is really controlling the world, she knew a lot about the symbolism, numerology, gematria, and the number 33, as a lot of us know now, came up a lot. And I remember asking her like 5-6 years ago, what does that mean? She was like, 33. That's them. Okay, so after realizing the quote-unquote accident happened on the 330th day of the year at 3:30 a.m., the alleged driver responsible was 33 years old. A follow-up article, Newsday article, was published on the 33rd day of the year, and there were 333 days left in the year. That was on February 2nd, 1988. Alleged responsible driver's parole date was 9/11/01. I'm not making that up. And I also realized that RK had been a fan of Aleister Crowley. RK had aspired to be a punk rock singer and was a fan of Aleister Crowley. I didn't know what that meant when I was a kid. Crowley, as many of you know, is one of the most satanic individuals in history and confessed to mass murdering children. So right now it's 2026. Not too long ago, I approached RK and I asked if we could talk face to face about some things that happened that night, and I just had some questions, and I said Zoom is fine, and he said no, and then he fled the country. He moved from New York to Texas, and then he left Texas and went to Europe. For the record, when I was trapped underneath the burning wreckage, RK was the person who pointed to my lifeless body and screamed for rescue workers to get me out. So I'm not angry at RK at all. I'm not angry at Brady if he was a real person. Bradley was the alleged driver of the van. So since RK did not want to answer my questions, I will ask these questions openly here. RK's mother was a lovely lady. RK's father, I strongly suspect, was a Freemason. Was RK compensated? Was he a Freemason, first of all? And was he in any way compensated for leading me down Columbus Avenue on that fateful November night? Years later, my father reported to me that he was told that even back in the 1980s, someone said this to him, that even back in the 1980s, cars could be remotely controlled. Who told my father this, and do they have any insider knowledge of what happened that night? Former New York City Mayor Eric Adams revealed the open secret that many police officers are Freemasons, and 33 is supposed to be the highest level of Freemasonry. And it's often used in the media as a nod, as a symbolic nod to the Masons. So question, do any police or Masons have any knowledge of what happened that night? Probably 1985-ish. I had been invited by a Chabad rabbi's wife in high school to join the group, and I declined the offer. The Kahanists, the same political group responsible for the mass murder in Gaza, Palestinians in Gaza, had become prominent in New York City just around the time that I was in this crash. Zionists are well known for their kill lists. Was I on a kill list, and why? To execute a public assassination attempt using the NYPD and a crowd of innocent teenagers, must have had some wild repercussions. I know one of my friends that was there that night, her father was a police detective, so I'm sure that must have been some kind of consequences. Again, I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm just sharing my story and seeking answers. After research into numerology, gematria, and symbolism of quote-unquote the cults, I'm generally able to ascertain if a given crime is a random event or a cult hit. A description of the cult is outside the realm of this analysis, but the researcher David Icke, for example, describes the cult, and it's quite straightforward now given the release of the Epstein files. And just so you know, I'm Jewish. Most Jewish people are lovely people, but the cult members like Epstein, like Netanyahu, are the most demonic Satanists. They're also non-Jews in the cult, so ending on a good note. On the 10th anniversary of the crash in 97, I had a party at the restaurant Paparadella that I was smashed into. Celebrating the fact that I did not die. Amazingly, my first child was born exactly a year later. So I hope this video helps some people. So ultimately, adversity is not great, but you do become stronger. And I'm praying that the good people of the world can transcend this evil and build a world of beauty and joy in the ashes of the cult. I'm Elizabeth Glass. Thank you.